Good morning, everyone. You're watching Campus France Live. Thanks a lot to be there with us. Today, we're going to talk about higher education in France and to discover Sciences Po Urban School. Few words about this school. Start with the city and transform the world. This is the mission of the Sciences Po Urban School. We're going to talk about that with my guest. Let's begin with you, Tommaso Vitale. Hi.
Hi,
You're
good morning.
the academic director of the Master Governing the Large Metropolis. We're also with Audrey Kerrer. Hi.
Hello.
You're the head of admissions to international procedures master. And we're also with Peter Campo Basso. Hi.
Hi, good morning.
You're an alumni of the Master Governing the Large Metropolis. We will be joined in a few minutes by some students and alumni to talk about the Sciences Po Urban School. Don't hesitate if you have questions to ask them directly on the chat section. And to begin, can you present the Urban School of Sciences Po Paris, Tommaso?
Sure. Thank you very much, Guillaume, for inviting me, and good morning to everyone. So, Sciences Po is an international research university, and the Urban School was created 5 years ago because cities and regions have become major political players in the world. Cities are full of problems, very serious one, of pollution, of climate adaptation, of violence, of lack of infrastructures, but they are also plenty of resources, of innovations. Cities are at the same time the places where the main problems have to be faced and the places where you can find resources, actors, coalitions to drive them. But many things are difficult, and we wanted to prepare managers, executives, able to go to work in the private sector or as civil servants and do not escape from problems, able to stay, to last, to face the major problems and to drive the change.
And by working on the city, you say it will transform the world.
Yeah, that's the idea. Cities are places where you can design, you can implement solutions, you can face the major contradictions and problems. And if things work there, then they maybe circulate. Network or cities are places where there is a massive knowledge that is shared, discussed, where our alumni, as well as many other important leaders coming from all over the world, may critical think about the change and what is needed and how to do quick and well.
And can you describe the different masters that you offer in the Urban School?
Yeah, let's say that our school is a middle-sized school. So it's something extremely human. We have 400 students. We have 4 main degrees. 2 are in English, governing the ecological transition in European cities and governing the large metropolis. And we have 2 degrees in French. One is called Stratégie territoriale et urbaine, and the other is called Cycle d'urbanisme. So this is the core of our education, with one master program focusing on governance problem of European cities, one master program, another one in English, focusing on large metropolises, very fast growing, but not in Europe. One master program in French, mostly dedicated to French and European cities, and one master program in urban planning, once again, mostly dedicated to France and European cities. We have also 4 double degrees. These 4 double degrees are very comparative by their nature as any form of our education. One is in French or English first year at Sciences Po, and then in Spanish at Colegio de Mexico on comparative urban governance. One is in English, 1 year in UCLA and 1 year at Sciences Po. It is the only double degree on urbanism and planning with an US faculty, and it's called Planning and Governance. And we have 1 double degree with LSE, London School of Economics, on urban policy, 1 year in French, 1 year in English. And we have 1 double degree on policy making and the city with the Bocconi University, which is a business school in Milan.
Morgan Ollier, hi, you just joined us. Can you describe the master that you decided to follow and why you chose this master?
Yes, hi, can you hear me?
Yeah, of course.
Great. So yeah, to answer your question, I joined the first cohort of the master governing the ecological transitions in urban cities. And so it has been a great pleasure to be part of this first cohort. It's a very interesting blend between social sciences classes and advanced methodological learnings. So the reason why I chose to join this master is actually the fact that it combined those both learnings and the fact that we have very qualitative classes on more theoretical ground, touching on public policies of ecological transition, the history of urban transitions or legal frameworks for European environmental policy making. This is kind of a new and it's a one of its kind master program in the European context. And at the same time, it offers key insights into learning very innovative tools, carbon footprints, material analysis, etc. These are the facts, the kind of methodological tools that the professional arena will ask us for the climate change crisis to tackle. So I think it's a perfect way to touch both, and it's a very enriching program for me.
Same question for you, Katerina. Can you describe a little bit the master that you decided to follow at the Urban School of Sciences Po?
Yes, sure. Do you hear me?
Yeah, of course.
Very well.
Okay, so I attended the master's in 2 years, which is called Stratégie territoriale urbaine. So in English would be urban and territorial strategies. I attended it between 2015 and 2017. And yeah, I really had the opportunity to approach the study of cities and territories through a variety of perspectives. So sociology, economical science, political science, as well as law and architecture as well. And what was very useful for me was that we could learn through a variety of approaches, so both theoretical and practical. So it's during my master's, for example, that I learned how to conduct sociological interviews, how to analyze, interpret, and draw maps as well, or how to analyze quantitative data. And yeah, the reason I chose it is that when I was looking for a master's after my bachelor, I found this program as a very unique program in Europe, in the universities that I looked at in Europe. So yeah, that's why I chose it. So it was combining really a variety of disciplines to approach the study of cities, which I was most interested about.
What's your advice to choose between the different masters? Look at the program, look at the different job opportunities after, how to decide which one to study in?
I would say that what is really important is to imagine his professional life and career after the program and think where you wish to go to work. If you really think about a French career, it's very important to take a master that is in French language, and the knowledge of internal regulation is a massive topic at stake. If you are thinking about working in Europe, the master on governing the ecological transition in European cities is the most well adapted. But if you look beyond, and if you are coming from a country from Asia, from Africa, from Latin America, even from North America, you are thinking about another scale of urbanization problems and another scales of problem of steering the social and economic development of cities, well, the master governing the large metropolises is the most important. The master in urban planning is still very much related to the French context, even if the more and more there are students coming from abroad that are interested in both landscape, urban design, and classical planning of infrastructure. But yeah, I would say that anyway, we have a style which is a style of individual coaching. So for every question, for every tentative doubts that you may have, it's very important just to schedule a short meeting to discuss with the advisors, with the people that have skills in coaching and helping you to see what is the best and more appropriate education for your project.
Peter, how did you choose to study governing the large metropolis? What were you interested in when you applied for this master?
So that's a great question. It definitely resonates with what Tommaso just said. I was very interested in not focusing on just one particular context for urbanization, as would have been the case if I was to choose the master's in France, which would have been much more focused on France than in probably European cities, than the governing the large metropolis masters, which we had to choose in this one, regional specializations. 2 of them actually, where we had to really take a deep dive into urbanization taking place outside of Europe. So in North America, for example, I chose to focus on Chinese cities and cities in the Middle East and North Africa, which were 2 regions of the world that have always interested in me and really present a lot of different unique problems related to urbanization. I'm from the United States myself, so I'm familiar with American cities. And it was really interesting to get this comparative focus. One of the other really important distinguishing factors for me was the ability to have, as some of the other alumni have said and students have said, we get to have a really good theoretical basis in our classes. But something else that I really appreciated in the GLM Masters was the opportunity to have the internship, the stage, but also the capstone, where we were working on a project, a professional project with an organization for a period of 6 months, in addition to a study trip that we were able to do in a large metropolis outside of Europe, in North America. So it was a lot of those different factors that for me were really important in deciding which masters I decided to choose. So yeah.
Going to talk about the program of the different masters. First of all, how is the pedagogy organized and what is the balance between practical and theoretical classes?
Okay, let's say that we have both of them. And what is at stake is not to have a bit of theory and a bit of practical tips. It's not this. It is to learn how to mobilize formal knowledge to cope with operational problems. So the 2 are very integrated because this is the skill that is required in the labor market. It's not that you have to know a lot of theories and you have to know how to manage a program or a project. No, it is how to be able to keep on nourishing through formal knowledge the circulation of policy evaluations, new solutions to face the concrete situated problem. So what we do in the master program is of all the master program that we have, after a semester with a foundation, because our students come from very different backgrounds, can come from engineering or from law, from political science or from architecture. So they are very different background. 1 semester, the basics. And then immediately specialization on policy sectors, different by masters, and working through capstones, not case studies, but a collective inquiry in real cities all together for a long period, not just meeting professionals, but working with them, having professional tutoring, having discussion, the back and forth between knowledge and program management. It's this capacity to mobilize knowledge to face operational problems that allow people to last in difficult situations.
For instance, Morgan, can you describe one of the projects that you're conducting right now as you're still a student of the master?
Yes, for sure. Well, actually, I can tell you about the Projet Collectif, so the capstone we led last year. So we were a group of 6 students. Actually, it was interesting. It was between our master ecological transition governance, S2 stratégie territoriale urbaine, and we worked with the Institut pour la Recherche de la Caisse des Dépôts on the Green Recovery Plan, the post-COVID plan, and the link with the citizens' commitment at the regional, local level. So it was very enriching because we were given the opportunity by both the people that followed us at Sciences Po, at the urban school, but also the people we were working with at the Institut pour la Recherche de la Caisse des Dépôts to both do overall and comprehensive research parts on the topic and then go on the field. And that was a great chance. Actually, we were very lucky because it was at the end of the pandemic, actually the lockdown, and we were still able to go on the ground and visit some of the locals and discuss with the local authorities. So I think as a first year student, I was extremely grateful to do this. And it's a great way to directly touch what we learned in the classes. And more generally, we, as part of the wide range of classes that we have, we're often given some very, very, very concrete programs to work on. So, for example, right now in the risk preparedness and crisis management class, we're asked to dig a bit how the European city dealt with the crisis, the COVID crisis, and in some ways, analyze, and this was linked to the ecological transition or transition at large. So this is great. Yeah.
And Katerina, how do the different classes that you followed help you in your daily work? Like, is it the method that you learned that are very helpful for you? Is it the theory that you had? Is it the combination of all of that? How do the different classes and how do the work that you did in the master help you in your daily life?
So my daily life today, so just so you know, I'm in my final year of my PhD. So many things to say, I would say. I think I had strong theoretical bases that helped me for my PhD. That's for sure. As I mentioned before also, I started to learn during my master's some very practical things that were very useful during my PhD. So, for example, how to conduct interviews with people. In particular, my participants today are people living in disadvantaged neighborhoods. And that I started to do during my master's, during a lecture that I had during my master's in STU, Stratégie territoriale urbaine. What else? Also, I think that it was very useful to get to know the reality of things in France, so the legal frameworks in France, I think also the cultural references in France. So that was very useful for me in my daily life, of course, but also for my PhD, because now I am doing my PhD in the UK, but part of my fieldwork is in France. And without the prior knowledge that I had in my master's, I think it would have been much more difficult to understand some of the local context I work on in France. That's for sure.
Same question for you, Peter. How do the different things that you learn in the master's help you in your professional life?
So one of my favorite examples is we talk in the Governing the Large Metropolis Masters, we talk a lot about governance. We talk a lot about the interactions between different actors and stakeholders in the city, including different levels of governance between the nation state, the city, municipality, things like that. And I remember when I began my internship, it was my end of studies internship for the Masters. I was working on a report as part of this internship on the politics and policies of air quality in the Paris region. And all we were talking about was governance at the beginning of it, and how air quality was actually a policy problem of different levels and layers of governance. So it was very much on something very practical on this report, really bringing in those theoretical aspects from the Masters. So that was kind of just my first internship experience. a very concrete example of how that really came into play. But we were also doing some things with that internship and also in the current work that I'm doing today. I'm currently working for a European program on territorial cooperation, specifically focusing on regional development with sustainability questions. And because it's territorial development, we're working on implementing European policy. There is a policy analysis aspect that comes into play. There is a territorial analysis aspect that comes into play. We really need to be able to understand territorial dynamics. So the theoretical and practical background that really came from the courses in the master's has been very useful in that regard, and has something that I think has been really helping me in the work that I'm doing to be able to understand the impact that projects might be having on the territory, and also looking for projects that will have a maximum impact on the territory and the issues that the territories that we're working with are facing.
If you're joining us, thanks a lot to be there with us today on Campus France Live. We're exploring the Urban School of Sciences Po, and we're talking about the different programs that you can follow. If you're an international student, don't hesitate to ask all the questions that you have in the chat section. We're going to answer all of them. Maybe to conclude with this pedagogy and program section, can you describe the different pedagogic tools that you have for your students?
Okay. So, firstly, there are classical lectures. Even if we are talking about small classes, so in average our master have 50 students, so it's always possible to have very active and participatory forms of training in during lectures. We have workshops to work on specific problem with teachers that are coming from the words of corporation, that are civil servants, that are professionals, high-level professionals. We have capstones where students work by team for an external partner, and they have to produce deliverables that are discussed in the real world, that are not some kind of simulation or artificial game. They can produce a difference. We have policy-based courses that are highly specialized, and we have also a lot of, let's say, minor tools that are at the same time very important instruments of professionalization. We have round tables with professionals. We have moment of question and answers with leading leaders. We have meetings with alumni. We have a study trip where students work by team to learn how to speak in a political world. We have all this moment of site visit where we reflect on the reality. We do not look for best practices. We want to understand, compare, explain what is happening in the real world. The skills that are supported are based on collective way of working together, because teamwork is more and more required, by very strong individual study, because everyone has to find its own path, has to be able to name and recognize what it has to offer to the job market. And it is based also on a school level dynamic where, for instance, all our students are committed to understand the change in governance produced by technological change and digitalization. All our students have to understand how to adapt and how to move towards an ecological sustainable way of urbanizing. So we work together on topics. We work as individuals on skills. We work by team to make the difference.
And you're now probably asking yourself how to join the Urban School. We're going to answer this question with you, Audrey. My first question is really easy. What background do you require, Audrey, to join the Urban School of Sciences Po?
So I think Tommaso kind of answered this question indirectly, because he said that no specific background was in the cohort. So we have engineers, we have people studying law. So we do not have a specific background in terms of disciplines of studies. However, we do require a bachelor or equivalent. There is one exception to that. It's a cycle urbanisme or urban planning program in English. And this program requires a M1 minimum. So we really do appreciate to have different people from different backgrounds with different studies. We do have one thing we want the students to have, or the applicants to have. It's a very good academic performance. We do require a minimum undergraduate average grade for the bachelor's degree. So if you want to check which is this minimum for your country, you can on our website. It's listed for all the countries, and I can give you example. For example, for the USA, it would be 3.5 out of 4. For India, 7 out of 10. Germany, 1.7 out of 5, etc. And if your bachelor average is under this minimum, then your application will be deemed not admissible. And on the other way, if it is above this minimum, it doesn't guarantee any admissibility or admission. So this is what I can tell you on the background.
For instance, Morgan, what did you study before joining the program? What was your background?
So I studied international development and political sciences, but more focused on the social cohesion ground. So no specific background on ecological transition. And I was studying at McGill University in Montreal, Canada. And actually, I did quite of a gap between my bachelor and my master program to go in the field and experience a range of applications of my first degree, and this was very helpful to determine the more specific focus on ecological transition, and decide eventually to apply for the master at the urban school. So it was a blend of personal experiences and the theoretical background I had in social sciences that helped me decide to focus on this very specific angle.
And Audrey, once you've checked that you have the level to apply, what are the different steps of the application process?
Well, there are many steps. So the first one would be to verify which procedure applies to you, so the eligibility, because we have different paths of admissions. And for example, if you obtain or will obtain this year a bachelor or equivalent and it would be a non-French undergraduate degree, then you would go through the international procedure. That's the one I will talk about mostly because we are on Campus France. The second one would be to create your account online. And I would stress that it is not the same as a CEF procedure, so Campus France procedure. I know some of you need to go through Campus France to apply for other universities, but not for Sciences Po. You need to go through the Sciences Po website. The third step would be to choose your program and check the deadlines, of course. So at Sciences Po, you can apply to a 2-year master's program of Sciences Po or a dual degree program or one of each. So a 2-year and a dual degree program. And it's very important to check the calendar because it's very specific and we are very strict on deadlines. The fourth step, I would say, would be to check if specific prerequisites apply to the program you chose. And for that, we have a very useful table on our website, which is called Prerequisites, Supporting Material, and Language Requirements. And that helps you see if there are some prerequisites. Usually, there are none for most of the masters of Sciences Po, including the one of urban school, except for the cycle d'urbanisme that we talked about before. And the final step, I would say, would be to complete the online application, of course. It's a pretty demanding application. We require a lot of documents like IDs, that's easy, a resume, references, transcripts, sometimes translations, sometimes language tests. So here I would take this opportunity to give you some tips. The first one would be to start your application with references, because those do not only depend on you. You need to check with your referees if they would make a reference for you. They need to fill in the online form, etc. So it takes some time, because they sometimes write references for a lot of different students. And also start with the language test if it's necessary for the program you are choosing. The second tips I would like to give you is to check our application guide, because it's on our website, and it helps you fill in your online application with screenshots. It gives you a table on how to name your documents, etc. The third tips would be to make sure you write a very good personal statement. So take some care there. You can write it down on a Word first and then copy paste online. And finally, make sure your application is complete, because no incomplete application will be reviewed or processed before paying the application fee and submitting your application. So I would say those are the practical steps to apply.
Thomas, so that's really interesting, this idea of the personal statement, because it's the way for international students and for international applicants to show that they are motivated, that they want to discover this field. Sometimes they're engineers, sometimes they are maybe journalists. They don't have a lot of knowledge, but they have to prove, they have to show that they're really interested in this field.
Exactly, exactly. For me, this is very important in the sense that Sciences Po Urban School is an international research university based on social science. So we are not a business school. So we really prepare for being able to face large career. And that means that the motivation letter for us doesn't mean that every student have to know what will be wanted to do for the next 5, 10, 15 years in details, but at the same time to show what is their vocation, what they are interested at, why they look at studying social science to develop skills in the urban environment, what were experiences that have marked them, how they imagine and where their future life. And it has to be prepared without looking at, blueprint or copy and paste stuff. This is useless. Do not look for tutorials on YouTube. It has to be done looking at yourself. And it has something that enter into a dialogue with your previous education, which was inspired your life. It has to be honest and backward-looking, forward-looking. And it has to show that you have taken some time to really understand the logic of our education, to look at the plan, to look at the tools, to look at the report realized by the students in the previous years, to look at some videos showing how we work, because we tend to be very transparent. This is an engaging school. We ask a full commitment, 5 days out of 7. It's to work together. So you cannot look for good inspiration outside yourself.
And Audrey once admitted there are a lot of different administrative steps for the student when they want to join Paris and when they want to come to France. How do you help them with the different visa procedure, such as visa or finding accommodation? You help them concretely?
Yes, it's not the admissions department, but as soon as they get the admission letter, then they will get access to different services. We have a centralized service that will take care of, which will help with visa and housing, for example. They put in place the Meet the Services days. It's an event to guide the new students through their different administrative steps and formalities before their arrival at Sciences Po. They also put in place webinars, and the schools also have orientation programs or welcome programs. So we have all kinds of different services that will help you go through the different administrative steps from your admissions. And also we even have a health care center within Sciences Po. So we have a lot of help there to accompany you.
Audrey, for all this information about the admission, and we wish you the best if you are going to start your admission process really soon. What is the deadline, Audrey, to apply?
Yes, so it depends on the procedure you will go to, but I will assume you will go mostly for through the international graduate admissions. So we have a final deadline that is set every year. This year is the 27th of February, but because it's on rolling admissions, we have intermediate dates set up. So you have responses depending on the deadline you submitted your application. That's for 2 years masters, and for dual degree programs, the deadline depends on the program you chose. And so if you chose both a 2-year master's program and a dual degree program, then you must make sure you apply by the earliest of the deadline. And finally, if you also wish to apply for the BUTMI scholarship, for example, you will need to submit by the scholarship of the deadline of the scholarship. So you need to keep in mind 27th of February for 2 years master's program, and dual degree programs. Go check on the website for the ones Tommaso described, UCLA, Collegio, and LSE, and for Bocconi it's a different admissions process.
Thanks a lot, Audrey. We're now going to talk about the student life and the professional world and the professional life that you're going to have during and after the different programs. First, Morgan, can you describe your life as a student at Sciences Po? How does it look like?
Yes, so my testimony is a bit special because I spent the whole first year in lockdown, so must assume that my student life was pretty limited. But since the school reopened, personally, I'm not really committed into any organizations, but I'm following quite attentively what's happening with the in situ organization of students, different topics that they propose, the debates they propose, etc. And the student life as in general is very pleasant in the campus. But what I can tell you about also is that in our program, actually, we're a small class, and this has a lot, creating special bonds between us and feeling like we belong to the urban school, and we get to know each other very well. And this was very, very eased by the study trip that we went on in Vienna. Actually, it was in last September, and we spent a week with my master program in Vienna to explore a bit the transition application at the local level in Austria. So this was a great way to, at the same time, develop on the ground the way that we study, what we study every day. Also, reinforce the bonds with the rest of the class and exchange on those topics. So on that point, it's a very rich environment.
Thomas, so it's important to give the opportunity at your student to follow and to discover a lot of things, thanks to events on campus, to make them discover the city. It's really important to make them have a life at Sciences Po.
Yeah, it's extremely important. Let's say Sciences Po has taken a decision that is very important. 20 years ago, it has decided to stay within Paris downtown. So our campus is an extremely urban campus. We have many different buildings nearby at 15 minutes walk one from the other, but they are in the center of the city, nearby the Louvre Museum. And it means that starting from this choice, we try to profit at best of the city where the campus is, to learn the problems, to learn the solutions, to learn the political conflicts related to the life in the city. And it is not only this, it's also associations. We try to promote students to start associations to discuss, but also to elaborate proposals, projects. We support small forms of entrepreneurship. There are many students that participate to international contests, that develop ideas and then open up their startup to face problems of urban life. We have, let's say, at the moment, 8,000 alumni. Because even if the school has been created 5 years ago, there were master programs before. And these alumni are very much involved, engaged. And so they organize through their associations, like Sciences Po Urba or In Situ, moments of exchange, of eating together, speed dating, Zoom meeting, where they can enrich. We have some kind of buddy program to help. We don't want to have anyone left behind. So it's student life to enjoy, to profit of the city, to develop its own ideas, to be extremely responsible and engaged, but also not to remain alone, to find some kind of web of support that is informal, that can sustain. And we try to adapt. So we faced, for instance, the pandemics. Last year we were, in a way, able to adapt. Every week on Friday at 6 o'clock, we meet all the students, try to say what will happen the week after. We really care that this intense experience is a formative moment in the life of this young professional.
And there is a new campus arriving in 2022. We're going to watch a little video to discover how Sciences Po is going to look like, and we will be back just after that. You're still watching Campus France Live. Thanks a lot to be there with us. And we're still exploring the Sciences Po Urban School. We were talking about the student life. Maybe, Katerina, can you describe one of your best memory at Sciences Po? What would it be, your best memory in the urban school of Sciences Po?
Well, I have many. I think the best memories are probably connected to the study trips as well, as mentioned by Morgane as well. So we did two because we had no lockdown at the time. So it was 2015, 2016. So yeah, the first one was, so we went to Dunkerque in France during the first year, and it was right after the beginning of the masters, and it was I didn't know anyone when I started the master, and it was a great occasion to socialize with the other students, and actually I met there my current partner, so that probably one of the best memories. And the second study trip was in Budapest. Another great memory. I had spent previously my Erasmus there, so I knew already the cities, but it was great to rediscover the city with such a new glance on things, on the urban features, on the local personalities, local policies. As well. And yeah, the social life was amazing there as well. It was a great moment to get to know even better the colleagues, the other students, and the professors and lecturers. And I also need to say that one of the, of course, there were plenty of very good memories, but I need to say that during my 2 years, I was also very I was guided by some professors who really motivated me, who really saw in me something that I didn't see at the time. So I felt very empowered, very encouraged, very supported. And this probably is what was most, it was very precious for me in the years following as well.
And maybe, Tommaso, you can talk about the fees. How much does it cost to study at the Urban School of Sciences Po?
Okay, for international students, it's around 14,000 euros. And for students coming from the European Union, it's very different because all members of the European Union has a very progressive fee. So it depends by how rich you are. And with the last reform that we have done, we have a system that is extremely redistributive in the sense that the most expensive fee is only for those who are very, very wealthy. And also, never forget that in Sciences Po, more than 1 out of 3 students have a grant. So there are different kind of grants. So comparing to other international research universities, Sciences Po is also for non-European students much cheaper, and there are a lot of good opportunities of grants and of supports, and it requires to prepare well your application, but it's feasible, and everything has been done to commit to support to reduce the cost for those who are in need. There are many conventions, there are many different scholarships. So, and I would say that a little bit as Katerina was saying, people teaching in the urban schools, they are interested in students. They do not do it because it's prestigious, but because they want to support students, which means that the whole faculty is committed to find and support a scholarship to enlarge this already good percentage of fellowships, of scholarships.
And we're now going to talk about the professional world during and after the different programs. First question is regarding the internship. Is it possible to do internships during the master, and how much can the students do?
Okay, so for sure, the internship is part of every program, it's not that at a certain moment lectures end and you do an internship and bye-bye. No, internships are required. One semester is dedicated to work and write. Everyone has to write an internship report or a dissertation, and everyone is supported by not only the tutor within the company where the internship is going on, but also by a tutor from the urban school. So it's really a moment of education and training, and there is something after the internship that is a final oral exam to come back on the learnings of the internship and articulate them with the learning of the previous semesters.
Can you describe maybe, Peter, the internship you had the opportunity to do?
Yeah, absolutely. So the internship that I had the opportunity to do was with the Suez Group, and I was working with them at the time on their first internal startup, which was called Origins Earth. And Origins Earth was a project that was working to find a link between climate finance and cities to help cities measure and reduce their own CO2 emissions through a number of different strategies and approaches. And so I was working kind of on doing general project management. So I was following climate finance policies. I was helping write reports, helping monitor the evolution of certain things, and then also helping very much the work on following the development of a digital platform. So I got to do a lot of different things, get a lot of different experiences through that internship that were some very directly related to the master's and some that were a bit more oriented professional training that I wouldn't have gotten directly from the master's, but that I felt were very helpful for the job market later on.
And Morgan, did you already have the opportunity to do an internship, or are you going to do an internship?
So yes, I did an internship last summer. I worked with an organization called UNADEL, working with the local authorities, connectés, territorial, and then actually had the chance to put into practice the learnings, the very learnings I had during my master, which were mainly cartography mapping. So I was very happy to develop the skills in the professional work, which is great. And then we were offered the opportunity to do an internship starting from so I'm in the process of looking for opportunities, and we'll spend the next semester in an organization still to be determined.
And how did you find the this internship opportunity this summer? Was it thanks to the network of Sciences Po? Was it thanks to your personal network? How did you do?
Actually, it was a great add up to the opportunity of the capstone project, because during our research that I talked about earlier, we were in contact with different organizations, among which Lunadel, and so at the end of the research project, I had a discussion with them about their needs, and they offered me to join their organization for the summer. So yeah, it was a great story about how the capstone project also evolves beyond the research project, but also in our professional career.
Can you tell us a few words, Tommaso, regarding the teachers and the different partners that you have in the programs?
Yeah. It's interesting what Morgan was saying, because we have just finished a survey on the alumni of the urban school, and we have observed that 56% of our students, they get a job before finishing the master. So, and we were wondering, how is it possible? And in fact, it is this kind of network of, we have around 200 partner organizations. Maybe, housing developers, they may be in infrastructures, in planning, in waste management, could be in water, in many different cultural, social, infrastructural sectors, but 200 organizations. We have every year 40 capstone projects for the whole urban school. We had 124 teachers It means that it is this network and the fact that we expose the students to the real world through the capstones, through site visit, through moments of dialogue that allow to find a spin-off internship opportunities, and through internship opportunities, students are very well prepared, they are able to study, to write, to talk, and they enter into the job market. But it's in a way, it's this kind of pedagogy where students are not closed down in the ivory tower, but they are exposed to the difficulties of the world, and they profit of we want to redistribute and share our networks, and we build networks. We have relationship not only with corporations and local authorities, but also with networks of corporations or networks of local authorities. And this multiply the opportunities. But finding an internship, it remains an individual commitment. We have networks, we have lists, but we do not offer internship. We support and guide students to look for what is interesting for them. It's not that we have a list of positions
and you choose
and you choose because you want. No, it's not for the partner. It's for the students.
And maybe a word about the different job opportunities for the students. What can they do concretely after the different masters?
Okay. In this last survey that we have realized, we have figures. So beyond what they can do, what they really do. So 40% of the alumni work between urban planning and housing. 40%. 20% work in local authorities and public administration in steering urban policies. And then we have 15% in consulting. So these are private companies that support local policymakers as well as small firms to improve their strategy. And then we have, let's say, 9% that work in utilities. So energy, transportation, water, waste management. 7% work in NGOs, especially to fight against urban poverty and to implement programs of urban inclusion. And 2% work in applied research or in university, and or think tanks, let's say really applied research or academic research. So what about the 8% of the others? Well, they work on the digitalization of the city. They work on data and governance. They work on the environmental transitions. They work on new financial programs to support and mobilize money for urban infrastructures. It may seem that it's only 8%. It's not a lot, but also because we have a story. So it's 8% looking at the whole numbers, but it's more and more. It's becoming 1 out of 5 or even more. It's becoming more and more important, this sector of digitalization and ecological transition and the financial aspect related to new green financial opportunities for urban infrastructures.
Caterina, you made the choice of doing a PhD. What was the idea, and what are you going to do after the PhD?
First, I would like to mention that it was. So when I was doing my master, I was given the opportunity to do a master dissertation. So instead of going for an internship as it is, I went for a research fieldwork and I did a master dissertation. And that was an opportunity because I already had the idea of starting a PhD later on. So after I still wanted to do an internship, so I did in the summer after my dissertation defense, basically, and I worked for 6 months on cross-border cooperation. It was great. Then I also had another contract in Sciences Po. I contributed to a research project. In particular, I working on dissemination activities for a European research project on sustainable transport policies in 5 European cities. And that was great and enriching. And then I started my PhD. So now I'm in my final year. My PhD is, so I'm really grateful for what I've learned during Sciences Po. I think I'm now in a business school, but I think I am much richer than the other students, the other PhD fellows, because I have a different background. And my PhD in sociology, basically, but it has a lot to do with urban policies as well, housing policies as well, and employment policies. And what's next? Probably I would like to continue working in academia. It's not set in stone, because of course it would depend on opportunities out there, but I'm working for it. And I'd love also to always work in connection with maybe European institutions or local authorities. It's something that I really I've nurtured since the masters. I think always the connection between academia and the real world, which is there during the masters, and I really wanted to pursue it during all of my studies and my training into research, let's say.
And really quickly for you, Peter, how did it go when you arrived in the professional market? Was it easy for you to find an opportunity really quickly, because we're at the end of this live session?
I wouldn't say easy, but I definitely did have support from the alumni network, getting into one of my first job opportunities. And then in the current role that I have right now, working for this European territorial program, I know directly that my new manager, when I started last year, said that because of the name of our master's that was written on my CV, she said that was something that really caught her eye, given the nature of our work. And she really wanted to meet me and get a better understanding of my background, thanks to kind of seeing that name of that master's program and having the territorial background and knowledge that we have. So I know that was definitely something that helped me get into my current role, which is something that I think is tied to what we did in the master's. So obviously very grateful for that.
Tommaso, to conclude, what would be your last advice to the student watching us today and wanting to join the urban school? What would you like to tell them to conclude?
I would say it's feasible, it's possible. So look at yourself, think why, and apply. I am amazed about the fact that some of our, for instance, Indian students were able to have some of the most prestigious French grants, like the Palladio grants for urban studies. Some of our Latin American students or African students were able to find very important form of support. It's really possible to come to France. Half of our students are international students. There is a sense of mutual support. There is an open international environment. There is nothing like any kind of discrimination. So it's feasible. Think, reflect on what do you think could be your contribution to the urban change, and let's apply.
That's a good message. Thanks a lot, Tommaso, Audrey, Morgan, Katerina, and Peter for having been with us today. And thanks to you for having watched us. If you still have questions about the Urban School, don't hesitate to visit the website of Sciences Po and of the Urban School to know more about the different programs, to know if you have the required level to apply. And see you soon on Campus France Live.